obscured behind the tales of lost treasure, holy bloodlines, and elusive secret societies, beyond the thrills of the Da Vinci Code and the hypothesizing of the Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, there lies an amazing fact. It's a fact whose existence was revealed through the work of a 16th century artist. But that artist wasn't Leonardo da Vinci. The countryside surrounding Béranger-Saunière's village holds a secret, an astonishing work of man and nature, hidden to all but those who know how and where to look. Spread across the stunning landscape of the Aude Valley is what can only be described as one of the wonders of the world, a vast and invisible temple of interlocking alignments and regular geometric forms, defined by the precise positioning of churches, castles, and ancient landmarks. Through all the myriad lines of investigation in this story, the priest's treasure, the Knights Templar, the Cathars, the Merovingian kings, the Priory of Zion, the Holy Bloodline, one thing is certain, demonstrable, and provable. It is that Rennes-le-Château is part of an extraordinary, invisible phenomenon. The real treasure in this story is neither gold, nor silver and diamonds, nor even the Holy Grail. At its simplest, it is a 5-pointed star. A pentacle. And at one point, Rennes-le-Château. How did Henry Lincoln discover this phenomenon in the first place? And what is its significance? What questions does it force us to ask? Well, to begin to answer these questions and more, we need to retrace our steps. We need to return to the parchments supposedly discovered by Béranger-Saunière in 1891. In particular, the first parchment, the one that contains that enigmatic message, "This treasure belongs to King Dagobert II and to Zion, and he is there dead." In preparation for the first BBC film in 1971, Lincoln spent much time contemplating the parchments.
No matter where they came from, unquestionably they contain messages. But having dealt with those, I continued to look at them, and there were lots of unanswered questions, even though we'd got the secret messages out of it. What we'd got were things like, why are there 3 crosses dotted amongst the text?
The obvious question was, what happens if lines are drawn to connect the crosses? Well, that question is immediately rewarded as a line from this cross to this traces out a word from the intersected text. That word is Zion. So the right questions are being asked. What next? Drawing a line to the other cross doesn't produce a significant result. Yet the clear message from the first line is that the crosses are significant. What about the small triangular design in the upper left-hand corner? The upper face of this little triangle lines up with the cross on line 4, the lower face with the bottom of the first line. The connection of these 2 crosses produces this line. Inspired by a design which was said to have been inscribed on a stone found 2 miles from Rennes-le-Château, Lincoln played with the idea of a similar design being present in the parchment. There is no cross or mark to indicate the necessary line. But Lincoln was convinced that the creator of this parchment was playing a subtle game. He noticed that this A is oddly detached, the only isolated letter in the text, and that the exact midpoint of this line falls in that gap. The choice of this point is confirmed when a circle centred here not only naturally passes through these points on the triangle, but also passes through the cross in line 7. Choosing that point to create this line was further confirmed as correct when it's seen that the point created here is exactly equidistant from the first two crosses. A circle is indicated. And now the little design in the corner makes sense. The circle creates two more points of intersection, which when joined, produce this. In 1971, when Henry+Lincoln found this hidden pentacle, the story of Rennes-le-Château was still rooted in the mystery of a buried treasure.
It didn't mean anything to me at the time when I found it. It's important to remember that I wasn't looking for anything specific. I was merely asking myself, what is there?
The second parchment is just as important in the whole story as the first. In 1971, Lincoln's interpretation of the message in the first parchment and a foray into the history of the area surrounding Rennes-le-Château had provided him with enough material for a short 20-minute film. Out of the blue, Da+, who'd been in contact with Lincoln during the filming, now sent him a decipherment of this second parchment. The hidden message is in French. In English, it reads, "Shepherdess, no temptation, that Poussin Teniers hold the key, Peace 681, by the cross, and this horse of God I complete, this daemon guardian, at midday, blue apples." Utterly meaningless on the face of it. But there was one tenuous link to a part of the story that hitherto had seemed insignificant. In Le Trésor Maudit, Da+ had reported that Saunier had originally taken the parchments he found to Paris to be examined by experts. Before returning to his village, he'd visited the Louvre Museum, where he'd bought reproductions of 3 paintings: The Shepherds of Arcadia by Nicolas Poussin, one of Tenier's paintings of St. Anthony, and a portrait of Pope Celestin V. Here was a definite clue. Shepherdess, no temptation, that Poussin Teniers hold the key. Why had Saunier purchased paintings by the 2 artists mentioned in this decipherment? What was the link? At the time, it wasn't clear which painting by Teniers had been purchased by Saunier, but there is only one Shepherds of Arcadia, Les Bergers d'Arcadie by Nicolas Poussin.
3 shepherds and a shepherdess looking at a tomb in what I was told was a fictional landscape, an imaginary tomb in an imaginary landscape.
2 of the shepherds point out the enigmatic phrase inscribed on the tomb, Et in Arcadia ego. And with this phrase entering the tale, suddenly yet another part of the story began to make sense. This slab, now in the museum at Rennes-le-Château, originally lay on the grave of Marie de Blanchefort, who died in 1781. It's said that Béranger Saunier himself effaced the inscription on the gravestone, but originally it read thus. It too was reproduced in Da's book. The 2 outer columns looked simple enough, but their meaning had so far remained obscure. They appeared to be a combination of Latin and Greek, but only now, with the inscription on the Poussin tomb scene before him, did the penny drop for Lincoln. The message is in Latin, but it's only revealed when being seen as written in the Greek alphabet. When Lincoln transliterated the Greek symbols into the Roman alphabet, the 2 columns simply read, Et in Arcadia ego. Curious enough, But also reproduced in Le Trésor Maudit was a reproduction of the inscription on the headstone of Marie de Blanchefort's grave. And it's the oddities on this carving that provide the key to the incredibly complex decipherment of the second parchment and that give us the Poussin message. Already the simple story of a priest, some parchment and a mythical treasure seemed to be taking on a new dimension and depth. But then something else happened. Something that would elevate the story of Rennes-le-Château beyond the little 20-minute TV insert first intended. Some photographs arrived in the post, again sent by de Sède. The photographs were of a tomb nestling in a pastoral landscape. But what was stunning was that the scenes seemed to be identical to the one depicted in the 17th century painting by Nicolas Poussin. De Sède also revealed that the scene in the photograph was easy to find, a mere 4 miles along the road west from Rennes-le-Château, near a village called Arc.
It was quite an extraordinary moment to drive along the road and see it in reality. There are arguments, of course, about how old the structure is. There isn't any evidence for its age. The question of whether Poussin painted that tomb remains open. There is no question, though, that he painted the landscape. Somebody could later have built the tomb to complete the picture. Or maybe it's been there for centuries. We just don't know. Having found the imaginary tomb in the imaginary landscape, which proved to be a real tomb in a real landscape, it's very sad to realize that that tomb now no longer exists. It was destroyed by the owner of the land because he was sick and tired of people coming and trying to break it open to find their mythical treasure.
But nothing can alter the landscape or the scene depicted by Poussin. Clearly this painting was important in the trail of clues which was now being uncovered. Did the Shepherds of Arcadia itself contain clues? Why had Béranger Saunière bought a copy of the painting from the Louvre? Could this canvas reveal the secret of Saunière's wealth? Did it indeed hold the key? Although Rennes-le-Château, Blanchefort, Cardoux, and the Rock of Toustoun are clearly represented in the painting, the skyline descends in the centre, whereas in reality it climbs higher. Lincoln wondered if Poussin had originally painted the rising hillside and then later decided to change it. The question was easily resolved by having the Louvre Museum provide an X-ray of the painting. Disappointingly, the radiogram didn't reveal a painted-over hillside.